You're sitting outside an investor's office. You've poured months into a product, and your company's survival hinges on the next 20 minutes. This is where most meetings fail. A chaotic slide packed with microscopic text and confusing flowcharts. Within 60 seconds, the room is entirely checked out. Investors do not write checks because they like a specific software feature. They invest because they see a clear path to capturing a market, executing a vision, and generating a massive return on their capital. At VenturLoop, we see founders make the same mistake over and over. They try to present a data-heavy brochure, but what you actually need is a tightly structured narrative. Your pitch deck is a psychological tool. Its entire purpose is to guide an investor from their default state of skepticism into a confident yes. The sequence starts with the problem slide. This is where you state exactly what is broken in the market. You need stark, verifiable claims. Zero technical jargon. No debatable arguments. This presentation slide is from Airbnb's actual pitch deck in 2009. They summarized the entire travel industry's flaws in 3 simple sentences. Price is important, hotels are bubbles, and there's no easy way to book a local room. Once the problem is established, you present the solution. This is your product. But instead of listing software features, you need to focus on the direct benefits to the user. Don't say you built a fully responsive editor. Say your users can edit their work from anywhere. Investors aren't looking for a tutorial. They need to see the primary benefit of your software within the first 30 seconds. Using a pre-recorded video ensures you reach that moment of clarity every single time without the risk of a technical crash. Next comes the underlying magic. This is your competitive advantage, the specific technology or patent you've built that makes your solution incredibly difficult for anyone else to copy. This animated diagram illustrates how Uber pitched their underlying magic. It shows vehicle nodes dynamically shifting routes to meet user demand. They highlighted their proprietary route optimization and demand forecasting systems as the engine driving their service. By the time you finish this first half of the deck, you've aligned the investor with the problem and proven your technological superiority. And you haven't even brought up money yet. Now the conversation shifts to the investor's primary motivation, calculating the scale of the financial return. To project how large your company can become, founders typically use one of 2 market sizing methods. The first is a top-down approach. This diagram illustrates a top-down calculation. You start with the massive total global market for your industry, and then you isolate a specific slice, a realistic percentage that your startup aims to capture. The second method is the bottom-up approach. It takes more effort to calculate, but the result is usually much more accurate. Here is a chart demonstrating the bottom-up method. Instead of starting with the global market, you start with small, known local sales data or comparable product performance, stacking it upward to forecast your total potential sales. Once the market size is clear, you present the business model slide. This needs to be aggressively simple. Taking Airbnb as the gold standard again, their original model was straightforward. They took a flat 10% commission on every transaction. Watch what happens to the projection on this chart when we apply that simple 10% multiplier to a massively serviceable market. Even a tiny fractional commission applied to a vast number of transactions yields an explosive revenue forecast. Stripping away complex pricing tiers in favor of a simple business model, combined with a massive market, provides the validation investors need to move forward. A massive market and a great model mean nothing without the execution. You need the exact right team to actually build the company. This image outlines the ideal startup triad. You have the CEO, the hustler, who sells the vision. You have the CTO, the hacker, who leads product development. And you have the hipster, the designer or marketer, who builds the brand. Do not dilute this slide. Keep part-time advisors and early employees off of it. Investors only want to see the people who are 100% dedicated to the survival of the company. Which brings us to the climax of the entire presentation, the traction slide. This chart shows the absolute rule of traction. If you have growing revenue, it must be the single dominating focus of the slide. Put a sharp, upward trending line front and center, and let it overshadow everything else. Consistent revenue growth moves the pitch away from theory and into the reality of a scaling business. It proves you've already won over your customers. Now the investor is just deciding if they want to fund the speed of your expansion. The presentation closes with your ask. This is where you state exactly how much capital you are raising and what specific milestones that money will help you achieve. You must be careful here. The SEC, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, the U.S. agency that regulates markets, has strict rules on who can see financial data. Do not blast your fundraising ask to unaccredited crowds or pitch it publicly on stage. Building a company from nothing takes an extreme emotional toll. You've sacrificed sleep, stability, and time to get to this point. A well-crafted deck clears the path between your vision and the capital you need. It ensures the room is focused on your potential, rather than struggling to understand your slides. That is why VenturLoop exists. We built this ecosystem to be your ultimate ally, giving you the tools to build, scale, and raise capital without having to guess your way through the process. Stop trying to figure it all out in isolation. Join the VenturLoop community, subscribe to our channel for more guidance, and keep building toward the top.